Hello, boys and girls. Happy Friday. Can you tell what we're learning about today? Can you see it? Do you know the movie? Let me get out of the way. Do you know the movie? I gotta go back in time. Back to the future. Back to the future. We are not going into the future. We are going into the past. And we're going to start with medieval times. Let me share my screen with you. All right, you see that? This is a medieval clock. Now, this medieval clock has a lot of things in common with today's clocks, and there are also some very big differences. So take a look at that clock face. Do you see maybe something that we have in common? Does it look similar to the clock faces that you're used to seeing? A little yes, a little no. A lot of the times you see numbers on your clock faces, but this one shows Roman numerals, and we still have clocks nowadays that show Roman numerals, and we have the same numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, except, you see this one? Right down there? That look weird to you? That's not the Roman numeral for 4, is it? It's not. The Roman numeral for 4 looks like the Roman numeral for 6, except instead of having V1, it's 1V. So why do you think clockmakers chose to not put IV here? Instead, they did 1, 2, 3, 4. Why do you think they did that? Well, if you're not sure, pause the video, think about it. Maybe, ask some people. Call up a friend, call grandma, ask mom, dad. Maybe they didn't really notice, or maybe they do know the answer. And then come back. Okay, well, I know some of you didn't go away and come back. You're just sitting there waiting for me to continue talking. I know that. I know you do that. So anyway, the reason that they put the 4 here is to avoid some confusion, because sometimes it's confusing to see, pardon me, when the 6 and the 4 are so close together. You might get them swapped one in another. So a lot of the clocks, even nowadays, will still show it. You might see some that have the correct Roman numeral for 4, and you might see some like this. So that's kind of interesting. And we do have that in common. Not that much has changed in regards to the clock face. Well, let's see what else we have in common. Well, we have here, look, this is an alarm. It's ringing the bell. We have that today. We have alarm clocks that wake us up, that tell us when it's time to go to school. My alarm on my phone, I've got like 15 of them during the day. It kind of tells us when we need to do something. But then there's something completely different than what we have. We don't have clocks like this at all right here. This is an adjustable clock. Now, our clocks are adjustable because we can always turn the hour back, or we can turn it forward for daylight saving time. But that's not what this clock is for. It doesn't turn it back an hour. It doesn't turn it back, forward an hour or back an hour. But what it does do is it changes the balance of time. No, seriously, it is. They're changing time with this clock. Well, they're not changing like time, but they're changing their time. In medieval times, people didn't really live by clocks. We live by clocks because, goodness gracious, if you miss your favorite, television show, you need a clock for that, right? Or if you make plans to go meet people and go see the movie or something like that, you have to know what time the movie is, and you have to be there on time. That's how our society is. But their society was not like that. They had a lot of farmers, a lot of people who are merchants and things like that. They sold clothing, or they sold food. They didn't need clocks. Pardon me, excuse me. So the only people who really had a need for time were people who were observing religious life. So monks who were living in monasteries, they had to have their prayer times every hour on the hour, or a certain number of prayers every day. So they had these clocks. And what's really interesting about these clocks is because they are adjustable, and they adjust the length of an hour. Now, we learned that because the Earth is tilted, we have winter, spring, summer, and fall. In the winter, we know that we have short days and we have long nights. And in the summer, in the northern hemisphere, we have long days in the summer and we have short nights in the summer, right? So for us, we kind of twice a year we spring our clocks forward or we fall back, right? So that's our daylight saving time. We spring forward in the spring and we fall back in the autumn. They didn't do that in medieval times. What they did was they decided that they were going to break up the day into two parts, the daytime and the nighttime. And that's it, daytime and nighttime. But then when it comes to summer, the daytime is very, very long and the nighttime can be very short. So what they did was say, well, no, I'm sorry. The daytime is 12 hours. End of story. But you would say, but the sun is still out. So it's not nighttime yet. It's still daytime. They go, because now an hour is not 60 minutes. Now an hour is 75 minutes because it's summer. That's what they did. And then at nighttime in the summer, instead of having 12 hours of night, they do not have 12 hours of darkness in the summer. So they made the minutes of a summer night shorter. So maybe instead of 60 minutes at nighttime, it might be 45 or 40 minutes at nighttime. So their minutes, or the hours, were adjustable. They had different number of minutes in every hour. And then the same thing would happen during the daytime in the winter, because the winter days were short and they wanted 12 hours. They had to have 12 hours in that daytime, and time wouldn't allow it. So they made the time different. They made those daytime winter hours shorter. So that way they would say, oh, it's still 12 hours, but our hours are only 40 minutes long. And at nighttime, oh, it's still 12 hours, but our nighttime hours are 70 minutes long. So that's what they did. And it got to be confusing because where you were in the world, your sunrise is different, your sunset is different, you're in different, you have different seasons, right? The northern hemisphere is different than the southern hemisphere. So as culture progressed and as we started to get into more machinery and things like that, we started to feel a need to make time more reliable. And especially when we started living in cities and we have transportation and now people have jobs they have to get to and schools started to form, we needed to be places on time. So we stopped using this kind of clock and we determined, no matter what, no matter when, 60 minutes is the rule. And to adjust for that, because our days are not the same. Our days in the winter, in the summer, are different. So let me show you how different they are. Here's a calendar of our sunrise and sunset so far in April. Let's start with April 1st. Look what time the sunrise was. The sunrise was at 7:12 a.m. That's when that sun was up. Look at Thursday. 7:11 a.m. Look at Friday. 7:10, 7:9, 7:8, 7:7, 7:6, 7:5. The minutes are going sooner and sooner and sooner. Sunrise is happening earlier every single day. Every day it's happening earlier and earlier. So why is that happening? Well, it's happening because the Earth is tilted and we're getting closer and closer to summer. Remember, summer has those longer days? Yeah. Now, we're starting our sunset earlier. Let's see what's happening with that, or sorry, we're starting our sunrise earlier. Let's see what's happening with that sunset. Sunset on April 1st was 7:37 p.m. And then on Thursday, the next day, 7:38. Here's 7:38 again, but then we've got 7:39, 7:39, 7:40, 7:40, 7:41, 7:41, 7:42, 7:42, 7:42, 7:43, 7:43, 7:44, 7:44, 7. I'm seeing a pattern here. So in our daytime, the sunrise is at 7:12, sunset 7:37. But now the sunrise happens a minute earlier and sunset happens a minute later. Sunrise again a minute earlier, sunset a minute later. What's happening to our day? Sunrise a minute earlier, sunset a minute later. Sunrise earlier, sunset later. What's going on? Our day's getting longer and longer because we're getting closer to summer. Our day's getting longer and longer and longer and longer until we hit that point in the year where there is complete equilibrium, where we have the exact same amount of daytime as we have nighttime. So once we have, let me get right there we go. Once we have that exact equality of daytime and nighttime, then it's going to go back in the other direction. Then it's going to be sunrise happens earlier, later, and sunset is earlier. Sunrise later, sunset earlier. Here comes winter. Shorter days and longer nights. So that's something that we attribute to the Earth being tilted. And it's going to happen every single year. Now take a look. Today is Friday the 24th, right? Friday the 24th, sunrise was 6:49 a.m. And the sunset it's almost 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. People are eating dinner at 8 o'clock, and it's still almost daylight. Now look here, 7:49 even. Do you think that in May you're going to have the same pattern? And you're going to have the same pattern in June. You're going to keep having that pattern until we get to that longest day of the year, and then it's going to start going back to get to the shortest day of the year. Then it gets bigger to the longest day of the year, and then it gets shorter to the shortest day of the year. And the same every time. 364 and a quarter days, you're going to see that rotation, and it's going to cycle back. So that's really, really, really cool. And all of that is because the Earth is tilted. Absolutely. Okay, so by today, you should have finished all of your assignments, I hope. If not, remember you still have till Sunday night, okay? Make sure that you've got those 3 assignments for your Studies Weekly finished, and those 2 assignments in iReady, plus those 50 minutes in iReady, okay? And send me your artwork, send me any kinds of fun things that you've been doing. And guys, you don't have to just do interesting stuff that I'm posting. Maybe you can share with us something you found. Maybe you're researching about clocks, or maybe you're researching about time, or you're researching about seasons or giant vegetables. Share it with me. I'll share it with everybody. We'll put it on the webpage. It's going to be amazing. If you see some cool crafts, even recipes, anything like that. Okay? All right. I'll see you guys. Have a great weekend. Bye.